Okay. Right, it looks like we are officially live, so I'm going to read our script that states we can hold this meeting remotely. So this open meeting of the Greater Boroughs Partnership for Health Advisory Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of June 16th, 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. All members of the Greater Boroughs Partnership for Health Advisory Board are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the advisory board to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Unless the chair notes otherwise, members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough remote meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. Okay, so just to do the official, we need to do just a quick roll call of our voting members for present. So I'll just go through, bear with me 1 minute. So I guess I'll say Kristen Black. So any members either voting official primary or not, just state your name and state, in the affirmative present. So Kristen Black, Northborough present. I'll hand it to Sarah.
Present.
Sarah Scheinfein, Boylston Board of Health, present.
Heather Alker, Southborough, present.
Chelsea Malinowski, Southborough Board of Health, present.
Okay. Great. And we have Ray still kicking around. Are we going to get Ray back, Jen?
No, Ray had to go to a different meeting.
Okay. All right, great. And I'm just going to share my screen with all of you. Let me know. Sometimes I have viewing issues, but I just put together a quick PowerPoint, hoping it would be a little easier to follow along. So today, I guess officially being September 8th, we'll call this meeting to order for the Greater Boroughs Partnership for Health Advisory Board. We have a fairly packed agenda. I'm hoping we can move through. I did assign some rough timetables and we're open to how you'd like to see the agenda moving forward. Just a reminder for everyone, this advisory board was created under the intermunicipal agreement that was signed by all boards of health and select boards for our 4 communities of Northborough, Boylston, Southborough, and Westborough. So we are required to hold advisory board meetings quarterly. This is our first official meeting. So we'll take us through the agenda slide by slide here, and you should all have a copy of this agenda as well as the logo toolkit with attachments to your Outlook invite. So just to cover introductions, I know we have some new faces and everybody might not remember who our members are on this advisory board. So I just put it in a little table here. Thank you everybody for naming yourselves. We can sort of go through. So Boylston, we have Sarah is present as a Board of Health member. The chair, does it go by Rob or Robert, is not able to attend today. Same for Northborough. We also have our member, Dr. Dilip Jain, who is not here, unfortunately, today. It's great to see we have both of our Southborough members. Jen Sullivan, for everybody, is new from Westborough, and we've been anxiously awaiting her to join our region, which is awesome.
Thank you.
Ray can't make it. I'm sure Jen will fill him in. And then just highlighted here in gray, these are non-voting members on the attached table. But I did want to note, Dennis Costello obviously was extended an invite as a staff member, but I know he's returning from a vacation, so probably has some catch up. Also on the call here, we have Diane Legier. So for those of you, Diane Legier was hired or increased her hours for the town of Northborough to support Southborough and Boylston with inspection. So we have Diane is there in the room with Erin Shanahan, who is having her very first official day. So Erin is a contracted Salmon VNA nurse who's being contracted full time, and we'll be going over more intros and details of that as we move forward here. And then lastly, last but not least, Katie Holt is also listed here, and Katie is the administrative assistant for the town of Northborough and has agreed to keep up with the meeting minutes for these quarterly meetings. So any questions on intros? We'll keep things moving along. And I can share this slide with you after. So if anyone's trying to take notes, I can circulate that after the meeting. So just quickly, we'll go over under the IMA, it clearly states that we have to do a vote to appoint a chair, a vice chair, and a clerk. So we have the official structure. I sort of laughed because, again, we're only meeting quarterly and Katie is agreeing to do clerk role. And I sort of said, well, I think we all know what a chair does and a vice chair does. And I said, in the case if we do have someone helping with notes, why, the IMA says we officially need a clerk, but that role could really just be helping to make sure the meeting agenda is posted, other clerical duties, along those lines. So that definitely could be a lighter lift. So I didn't really solicit or talk too much about this. I'm happy to serve in any capacity. I don't know if anybody's jumping on this. I'm happy to serve as chair, vice chair, wherever the group wants to go, but we do officially need to designate these roles, nominate and vote these positions for this advisory board.
I nominate Kristen Black as chair.
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, Jen's getting it done today. All right, thanks, ladies. Sarah. So do we want just a quick roll call vote on the nomination for chair?
Jenna, yes.
Heather, yes.
Sarah, yes.
Kristen Black, yes. Great, that's set. Any thoughts on vice chair?
I'll step up if no one else wants to take it.
Well, so I'll nominate Jen Sullivan to vice chair for the advisory board. Or I move. Nominate Jen. Any second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Sarah. Any discussion? Okay, so I'll move to vote. So Kristen Black, aye.
Jennifer Sullivan, aye.
Sarah Scheinfein, aye.
Heather, I.
Anyone interested in the position of clerk? So again, I think this is again a light lift because we're taking the meeting minutes out of it, but helpful feedback on having things posted and those sort of things. Heather or Sarah? Right, make it. What if I'll pick on Heather.
I can do, okay, sure.
Okay, so I move to appoint Heather to clerk of the advisory board.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Jen Sullivan, second. Any discussion? Okay. So Kristen Black, aye.
Jennifer Sullivan, aye.
Heather Alker, I.
Sarah Scheinfein, aye.
Okay. Congrats, everybody. Thanks for moving that along so quickly so we can get into the fun stuff here. So just going through the agenda, is everyone seeing that okay, by the way? I do have some information on these slides. Okay. So the FoodCode-Pro and HousingCode-Pro inspectional software is fully covered under the grant. I know there's been a lot of emails back and forth over the last month or so, including invoices that were sent to each of your each of the 4 communities. I just want to absolutely make sure Northborough is processing those payments today on behalf of all 4 communities. So take that invoice, rip it up, don't pay it. That's being paid by Northborough. So I just want to be clear. I think there were emails sent, but I don't want there to be any confusion on that. So those are being paid for, again, the FoodCode-Pro and HousingCode-Pro inspectional software. So at this point, there were, I know, individual emails to the town set up. So the software would be installed with your inspectors on iPads, and also each town has one administrative account. So your inspectors would have a license to install it on a laptop or a desktop computer, as well as the iPad. And then for your administrative assistants, it wouldn't be off an iPad. most likely be their desktop computer. So I don't know if we need to get in all the nitty gritty. The relevant software will support that. So if your IT is having problems or whatever, we can definitely walk you through that. But I just want to make sure, does anyone have questions on software installation?
I do. So apparently the covers for the iPads we received do not fit. So I'm not sure if something else can be ordered or how you want to handle that.
Yeah. So Jen, if you just want to pack those up and we'll figure out how to get them here and we'll order new ones.
Okay, great.
So I know Diana and I have been back and forth for a while and I'm like, we're trying to get Southborough, you know, to see if, sorry, but Southborough, if they had the same issue, but anyway, did you find the same thing, Heather?
Well, we've only downloaded to the desktop. We haven't put it on the iPad yet. We need our IT person to help us with that. So it's not on our iPad yet.
Okay.
We haven't
Yeah, it
even
was actually
tried, but
that-
I imagine we probably have the same issue, right?
Yeah, so we'll get new cases. So I apologize for that inconvenience. I think there's so many versions of iPad cases. So we'll get a similar design as long as that works for all of you. So I'll look to get those back. Diane can probably pick up from Southborough.
And
yeah.
I drive by on the way home.
Okay,
So I can pick them up, so I can stop in and say hi.
Great.
okay. Awesome. Thank you, Diane. So we will get those new cases covered. Obviously, the iPads were ordered and are all in place, and those invoices have been paid as well. So those were purchased through the town of Northborough under the grant. Any other questions on equipment or software installation? Okay. So Diane was helpful in reaching out to Mike Hicks with relevant software, and she has set up the training, and I hope this works for people's schedule. I think those will be recorded, Diane. So if you have a staff member who can't attend, and the whole goal is, and the inspector training is a little different user interface than the administrative assistant, who would be maybe pulling a report or, you know, looking for or logging, you know, the establishments or those sort of metrics. So that's why you're going to see there's a different admin training. So in Northborough, for example, we really only have one admin account, but we have two admins that overlap. They're both going to attend the training. So there's really no limit as to who attends the training. I think the administrative training is useful. So like, let's say, Jen, if you're in the field, or Heather, you know, you're in the field, maybe doing an inspection once in a while on an iPad, or maybe you're just running the reports, that admin training is important for you. So if you're going to do a year end, so I would definitely put yourself down. And then for inspectors that are actually using the software in the field and need to know how to add violations and take a photo and upload, that would be the inspector training. So the goal is to hopefully do it together, because I'm sure like Diane will attend, Legere, who's been using the software. I think Diane's questions, and we all feel like the software is sort of new and they keep changing it, which is good, making improvements. We learn a little more every time. So hopefully we'll have the added benefit of taking those together. So, and Diane, I think you already sent the Zoom links.
I have not. I'll send them immediately after this.
Okay. Okay. So Zoom links to follow. Okay. And if you guys have questions, again, they'll be recorded. And if we need to do follow-up training or more specific, we can get into that. So are we okay with the software before we move to the next agenda item? So contracted nursing service with Salmon VNA. So as you all can remember, we put out an RFP that was decided with the group that went out to bid. I think we had 4 contractors or 4 proposals that we received. Salmon VNA came in with the most experience locally in public health in Massachusetts. And so the group, in a previous meeting before this official advisory board, our group did meet and all vote to move forward with Salmon VNA. Town of Northborough has fully executed a contract. The official start date of that contract, just for everybody's reference, is September 1. So we do have the nurses, and we have Erin is here today. Jen, I think you'll be coordinating with Celeste Kopak and Ann Levante, and all of that should really be starting. So we're gonna, work out those details. For Erin is new to public health, not new to nursing. And so they're going through the great news at Salmon VNA, and their experienced nursing team, public health nurses, is going through that training now. So she's all up to speed on contact tracing and COVID and a Maven user and all the rest. Moving on to some of the other infectious disease training in the next week. But if there's anything anybody needs, we will be circulating those email contacts. There's discussion about the nurses and the best way to do email and meet public records law. And I think in the case, we're going to look to issue actually a town of Northborough email account for Erin, most likely for Celeste. I'll talk to you, Jen, offline about that. What's best, just so if there is ever an open meeting or records request, we're not having to go through Salmon VNA. That will automatically be there. So we want to make sure we're in line. So just to go over the staffing, as you can see from the spreadsheet, it tried to talk about the nurses. As you saw from their proposal, Salmon VNA has more nurses they can pull from, to support flu clinics, booster clinics, other things. But our key nurses, Ann Labonte is our lead. She's our project coordinator. She's our team manager from Salmon VNA. She's been in public health for, I want to say around 10 years, has been serving the town of Northborough for over 4. So Ann is very experienced. She's going to oversee for now and assign cases, with the exception of Southborough, because you have your public health nurse. So if you see anything here and go, that's not how we want it done, that's okay. You're going to customize the way you want to use the nursing. So again, it's 1.5 full-time equivalents. But for the towns that are going to use those services, Anne would sort of be the lead until we really have a system on assigning cases. Celeste Kopek is familiar to public health. She's worked with Salmon VNA in this role. She's worked vaccination clinics in Uxbridge and has done flu clinics for years. Her background is more in like senior center and educational programs, and has some more familiarity with that. So Anne had sort of pinned her as sort of the senior center outreach lead, and that she'd be helping Erin and supporting. They'll be working together, but to help design that programming or the menu of services you could choose to implement in your towns. Celeste again she has about 20 or so hours a week. Just to break up the towns, we look to assign Celeste to Westborough, their biggest community, probably highest needs. And so, Westborough will be working directly with Salmon VNA staffing on that. She'll be working on developing education outreach materials. So again, she's 15 hours, she's 20 or so, or a little bit more. If Westborough takes 15 in the office, that leaves her some bonus time that will help her work on the programming across all 4 communities. And then it's your choice to use it or to work with her in developing the programming. So she'll assist with disease investigation, the blood pressure, and other wellness clinics you may want to run, also assisting with flu clinics and other office tasks. And then we have Erin again. We're really excited. I think you're really going to love upbeat, friendly disposition. I dragged Erin around today to meet a few people, and she's going to be a great addition to this region. So welcome. And so Erin, just to keep things simple, we're looking to just have Erin do Boylston, Southborough, and Northborough, just so we don't have nurses overlapping 2 communities. But if we have a flu clinic and you want to support it, that's where Erin and Celeste would work together. So there is a bit of floating there. Again, each community has approximately up to 15 hours in how you want to schedule or use it. And that may change, seasonally. As Erin transitions into this new role, she will serve as the primary lead for flu clinic coordination and vaccine ordering. The good news is Salmon VNA did create a color account. And they're in the process of doing that. So it really depends on your community, what works for you. But if you just want to totally hand off your flu clinics on the scheduling end, and Salmon VNA is going to run with it, they have that ability and they're working towards it. If you already have it set up in your system, like Southborough, and you order vaccine, and you're just like, I need Erin and Celeste to show up on these dates to be our extra 2 nurses, and that's how you can use them. So there's a lot of flexibility as we work through that. So Erin, she walked around our senior center today and met our dull men's club in Northborough, and they had lots of fun questions. And so we'll be seeing really the needs of each individual community and what they need support with. But again, disease investigation, hosting those blood pressure wellness clinics and other office tasks. So any questions on nursing services with Salmon VNA?
Just a question, is that under Celeste where it has the educational and outreach material and training, is that also for public, like in terms of public education for, sort of public health topics, triple E or, something that potentially covers all 4 towns?
Yeah, exactly.
Or is it training for staff in town, or?
I think it could be what you want it to be within their skill set. And the great news with Salmon VNA is they have a big pool of nurses to pull from. So if you think of a need in your community on health programming or education, Erin can take that back to Ann, say, how have we run these other programs? What are our skill set? And really work to develop what works for you. The other thing I know, Heather, we talked about in the grant is eventually phasing them into emergency preparedness, maybe representation at some of the public health emergency and preparedness meetings, et cetera.
The prevention. Yeah.
Yeah. And then substance abuse and prevention, so when I say health programming, it could be, anything, and how they how they work with the schools. I think, I talked to Erin today, let's look at other communities that have had nurses in play longer and the types of programs and really learning from others. So we're looking to make sure that Erin and Celeste are both tied into the Massachusetts Public Health Nursing Association, that group to have access to those trainings. Erin already today was on the local Institute of Public Health website and picking up some of those public health nursing training classes, thanks to Diane. So really it's, we have some flexibility in how this works out. I think we're going to learn as we go. But I think where we're focusing in Northborough, I'm assuming other communities will be similar, is boots on the ground, contact tracing, get us through this fall transition with school flu clinics and eventually booster clinics. And then, and then we'll look to develop, right? We all hope to be on a post-COVID end of developing other health programming, getting more proactive and covering a wider range of health topics than just COVID. Are we all good? Any other questions with contracted nursing? Okay. So more to come on the emails for the nurses and contacts. You should all have Ann Labonte's, and if you need to get a hold of someone right away, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll make sure we make those contacts. So again, the things the nurses, the Salmon VNA is here to support, just sort of in the short term, is our flu clinics. And I know each individual community I had conversations with, we're working with Salmon VNA, your needs differ, but they're there to support you and however you want to do the clinics. Looking to schedule, obviously needing to sort of vaccine ordering, et cetera. So we'll have you directly contact the nurses regarding that. And Ann Labonte probably for right now might be your best, as Erin's getting through this training. Our booster clinics, the nurses are there to support that in some capacity. If it's saying we're going to run booster clinics and we want to use our nurse, which we have for 15 hours a week, that's great, but it doesn't mean we can say they're going to do booster clinics all week. Plus we expect them to, so think of your 15 hours and how you want to use them. So if you move to doing weekly booster clinics, whatever, that's something they can work towards. If it's a couple one-off situations or homebound visits or whatever, certain within reason, there's sort of a basis of support through Salmon VNA. If we're going above and beyond, like holding a booster clinic every week, and we need more than one nurse, one of the things we'll talk about a little later is whether or not we could contract with Salmon VNA for additional nurses to really support maybe long-term booster clinics with the additional grant funds we have remaining. So for now, think about it within your 15 hours and how you want to do it. The other thought on COVID testing, we're hoping, many boards of health already have the Binex now. So we're going to make sure Erin and Celeste are trained to help administer and upload those results. We're doing that here in Northborough. It's really easy with the Binex now. Northborough's also purchased a Abbott ID Now PCR machine that we'll be training Erin on, and we can talk to the other communities. If you have that need for a PCR for first responders, that is something that, we will have the ability to do, and we can talk more details later. Some communities like Ashland's been using this ID Now rapid PCR machine, complementing the antigen-free kits from DPH with those tests. It is about $41 a kit. The machine itself is around $5,000, but that is something that's a perfect item to share as a region, because I don't think you'd be using it all day. We're not opening up a rapid PCR testing station, but if it's about keeping our essential workers or teachers or police or fire and needing that, that is an asset or resource in our community. And we can talk more about that. And just lastly, again, those other health programs like Heather, we talked about. So we'll be working through that. So any other question on sort of the clinics, booster, or testing? Okay, all right. So we are flying. So we'll jump in quickly, and I'll hand this over to Diane Legier. So and I don't want to bore Westborough or get them too excited that they're, Diane is covering Boylston, Northborough, and Southborough. So, and just Jen, for your background, when we applied for the grant, Westborough had sort of said, well, we're okay on staffing, but what we need is software and nursing. And so with the needs of Southborough and Southborough, Northborough, and Boylston being short staffed, when we wrote the grant, it was about getting those extra inspectional hours, because most of our departments had one full-time or less to cover those. So Diane, can you just walk us through real quick, just this brief update on your inspections? Oh, you're muted.
Okay, so the approach we decided to take with inspections regarding Southborough, Northborough, and Boylston is that we created so I'm kind of going out of order here. We created a food safety manual because due to staffing shortages and, people have been stretched really thin, we have situations where some establishments have not been inspected in years, or never been inspected at all. And I think that's kind of commonplace in smaller communities that don't have the adequate staffing. So the approach was we created this food safety manual, 207 of them. And you can see on the screen the basic overview. We've gotten nothing but positive responses, overwhelmingly positive responses. I've even gotten a few voicemails now from restaurant and caterer owners that have really been appreciative of the efforts. This serves two purposes. It gives establishments all of the tools that they need to be successful, but it also holds them accountable. Every manual that I hand out, I do a walkthrough and a pre-inspection with the establishment, and we talk about what's in the book and what we're going to be looking for, what the requirements are. We do a Q&A. I offer to come back for a trial inspection, which a lot of people have taken me up on, to really get people in the groove and understanding this is what we're going to do from here forward. We're going to be in here twice a year minimum, and we're going to be holding you accountable. So each one of these that I've distributed, the establishment had to sign an affidavit that they have received it. So now we're going to hold them accountable. Our goal is compliance. Our goal is to get everyone in compliance and up to the 2013 standards. So that said, I have been in now all of the schools in Southborough, Northborough, including the two private schools in Southborough, Bay School and St. Mark's. I've met with the food directors. I've done pre-inspections in all of our schools. And I have otherwise visited 47 establishments and conducted pre-inspection walkthroughs at all of those. The purpose of that is to help me prioritize where the risks are and base our inspection schedule on, the perceived risk based on the initial walkthroughs. Housing, we've been really busy. We've been busy in Northborough, and Heather and I have gotten to spend a lot of quality time with each other lately, with an interesting case in Southborough. So in the first 30 days, I've conducted 8 initial and follow-up inspections.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Diane. Any other questions? So again, we're hoping, Sarah, we're not leaving Boylston out, so walkthroughs will take place. Really, the whole point of the book and making that phase contact is this new software photo documents the inspection. And so for some establishments, that's a big change, right? So it is a public record. And so part of it's doing the meet and greet and sort of saying, also preparing them that we're using a new software, the reports are going to look different. We have a new person. So when, hopefully they actually, the inspections start, they're not caught off guard. They, the handbook is setting them up for success. So rather than talk about that pre-inspection checklist that Diane mentioned, is about just setting them up for success. We're going to check your hand washing sink and make sure it's empty and make sure there's a sign and make sure there's paper towels and soap, just so they can be successful on those key items, which often happen, or how you store a mop, or really those common things we see time and time again. And if nobody's been in for a while, they're just going to feel like they're getting hit, every direction. So really walking them through the common mistakes we see. So, and what we're going to do, and we'll talk about a little bit later, is all of those materials that Diane's pulled together, and they're all like public information. If it's a guide from FDA or a sign from some other establishment, we're going to put those all on our Greater Boroughs webpage that will be created, just so everybody has access to those same materials. So in Westboro, Jen, we could drop you an example of that book. If that's something you guys would find useful, again, it's stuff that's out there. I think you guys were in the best shape of all, and your establishments are a little more familiar with, vomit and diarrhea kits and all those new changes to the food code. So I think you're in a better shape, but again, the resources Diane's put together are shared by our whole region. And so whatever point, Westboro would benefit from that, or, even we'll learn from you guys and sort of your more robust food safety program you've kept in place for a while. So excited Diane's out there, and Sarah will be in, Diane will be in Boylston starting next week, and again, it's about making those connections. And if there's a housing issue, everybody should have contact information, so housing can get referred for Boylston and Southborough. So
Okay.
any other questions for Diane about the shared health inspector position? Okay.
No.
Great. So, all right, we covered that. So again, the food safety manual, put all those materials online, and Diane, if you could make sure we drop a copy with Westboro, just so they have that, or maybe we pick up the non-fitting case. So here's the fun stuff, right? This is our Greater Boroughs Partnership for Health. We have a logo that we're going to have you guys officially vote to adopt, hopefully today, and also just discussing, if we create a website and sort of best use. So just for a reminder of everybody, we did sort of move ahead with the logo right away because we wanted to get staff, and we want to get, clothing for staff and business cards and all the rest, and really have an identity. And so it was the group that voted the name. So we, Jen, you weren't here before, but we went over Alliance and this and that, and we sort of all landed and voted that Greater Boroughs Partnership for Health was really a great way to, we all felt comfortable with that language. And so we work with Studio 87, and it was a $1,500 contract with Studio 87 to develop the following designs for us. So we really aren't here today to say, oh, I like that one, I don't like that one. They're all ours. We sort of bought them all, right? They designed them all for us. We start off, and Heather and Taylor were great. There were text messages. What do you think of this? Or how about that? And I think our goal, and if you look through that brand toolkit or brand empowerment toolkit that was provided to you in the attached agenda, there's a great explanation on really what we were thinking. And we were trying to be professional, but warm and local. And so we really, the designs kept coming back to something with a person in it, and really wanting to stress that partnership. So that's how you get the people. That middle symbol, you'll all know, is like the, national symbol for public health that, we always see it at the DPH with the beige and the sort of badge symbol. And that's something we're really encouraged to use in public health, but we all felt it was a little bland and we wanted our own identity, but taking that center. And if you get really creative and you tilt your head to the side, you might see that that square in the center could actually be a house with a roof. Do you see? If you have to get really creative. So we were trying to get that idea of home, so health, home, partnership, and people. We had designs with hearts and, whatever, but at the end of the day, we wanted it to be professional, and I hope you guys are really excited over it.
We also wanted unique. We didn't want to look like the Red Cross or something.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Unique.
I think you guys did an amazing job on that.
Yeah, thank you. No, it was fun, and I'll give my sister some credit. She's in graphic design, so I threw a lot at her. I'm like, Jen, help me out on advertising. I'm not feeling it, and I do have to say, Natalie with Studio 87 was phenomenal, and I think she did way more revisions than we paid for. But hopefully, this is an image we can get behind, and we'd encourage people to use it. We'll make sure our shared nursing staff and our shared health inspector staff, like Diane, all have it in their signatures. And it just gives us something to be united with. So I don't know if could we, I'll entertain a motion. Can we do an official vote to adopt the logo toolkit, as shown, or our logo?
I'll second.
Okay. And any discussion on adoption of the logo? We can talk more after about how to use which one when, but we paid for them all. So they're sort of all ours. So, okay. So we'll just do a roll call vote. So Kristen Black, aye.
Heather Alker, aye.
Jennifer Sullivan, aye.
Sarah Scheinfein, aye.
Okay, great. So what I can do with for everybody, I can share the files with you. So it's on a Google Drive, and she sent 7,000 iterations. So it's all in blue, it's all in black. It's like you can use it so many different ways. And it's sort of in that toolkit talks about, unadulterated image here. Like she doesn't want us changing the color, there's certain things of trying to keep it, but which one you use and where is really sort of what fits for you. We really like the tagline. The designer came up with the better together. We thought that was a cool idea. So, that's our primary mark is the one with the people. If we have a smaller setting, it doesn't quite fit, we have like the other version. So they're really up there for you. It's about, if we ever do social media, which one would fit well in the box and the sizing and that sort of thing. So I'll share those with all of you, use them as you like. The one decision, I'm hoping the group just to get some feedback, we will be ordering polo shirts for our staff and any other like health department staff that would want to wear it. And so with those polo shirts, it's really which design, which logo we would want to go with. So I don't know if anybody has a preference. So obviously we'll probably do a longer line, across the shirt for the staff. It sounded, I don't know, just by a quick, going around the group, do people want the shirts to be printed with the more detailed people version of the logo?
Yes.
Okay. Sarah and Heather, does that work for you? Would you prefer
Yes,
printing staff
yes.
shirts, the version with the people?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And on the shirts, do we want the tagline better together or do you want to just keep it clean with just the name?
I like the clean myself.
The
but-
name, yeah.
Okay. So, all right, we will go with that secondary combination mark, but just not the tagline on the shirts. And again, we'll share with you and we'll incorporate that into our website. And Ron O'Connor, before he left, I wanted to fly ahead and get a logo. So we had an identity and he said, well, I don't know, Kristen, nobody's ever paid for a logo before with public health funds. So I'm hoping we've done Ron proud and he would be happy with this logo and something we can get behind and feel professional. So I know some of us may be attending the MHOA conference, later in October. So I'll work with Diane and we'll look to we do have a $3,000 clothing allowance. It seems pretty high. I guess, there's going to be setup costs with screening, et cetera. So the goal would be that, we'll send to each office. So if you like a staff assistant or anybody in the department that would prefer to have one of the polo shirts or anything like that, let us know. So my thought is we'll go to each department for staff and sort of say, here's the order form, give us the size, and are you interested in the following? So more to come on that and in the ordering, and I think we're working with Masterman's because the town of Northborough has a contract with them. They're out of Auburn. They do a lot of screen printing for DPWs, et cetera. I don't know if you use them, Jen and Webster, but we're just, with town contracts, we're just trying to pick a vendor we already have a relationship with, and we'll get that set up for screening. So more to come on the fun merchandise and the identity there. So you'll see all future. The one more deliverable from Studio 87 is they're going to make one other item, which could be like a business card or a letterhead or, some other item. So I had asked for a nice letterhead, just so, one that would maybe leave room so a town could put their own logo in as well. So again, we would share that template with our communities in that way. As we move forward with agendas and things like that, we would have a letterhead that works for everybody. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so additional funding opportunities. I'm attending, I think it's every other week, a meeting with DPH is the lead contact on the Public Health Excellence grant group. Not much has come out of those meetings. I feel like it's, but any of you, if you'd like to attend, I'm happy to extend that. We've heard the same thing at every single meeting for the last 3 months, which is like, hello, this is the public health grant, and they talk a little bit about furthering it. It sounds like additional money is going to be infiltrated into public health in Massachusetts, and the state really wants to push it through these regional partnerships. So nothing's been officially released yet, but I do know the state, my last one-on-one meet, my only one-on-one meeting last week or the week before with Sam Wong and a few other DPH representatives, the number one thing they wanted to talk about was, are you willing to pick up other towns in your partnership? It sounds like as they're realizing they want to push money in public health through the regional partnerships, the state realizes, well, that doesn't really work because if you're not part of a partnership, you don't qualify. So at this point, and I'm open to conversation, I said, we're really happy with our group. We've worked really hard to execute an IMA, to do a logo, to be running, to opening staff. I'm sort of at my bandwidth, and I'm not looking to add other communities. In particular, Sam Wong had some questions about Marlborough, didn't quite have a home. And so I'm not even sure Marlborough's interest, but more to come. I wouldn't take any action on that without the consent of the group. I'm really happy with our towns because I think they're fairly similar. We're all geographically, share borders. I don't know if you guys had any thoughts or you've had similar conversations or questions about regional partnerships. Okay. All right. So we're sticking.
And I've heard the same news, I guess, only that, right, they're looking to kind of get towns that aren't in a group into a group.
Right. Yeah. So there was one comment from Sam Wong that said over time, you'd be less competitive if you don't have a big town like a Marlborough, because you wouldn't have like the diversity or different socioeconomic groups. But also, again, I don't know if Marlborough's interested. I feel like we're already so far along that like it is a 3-year grant award, and I think we want to do this well, and it seems sustainable and logical. So I'm not looking to change gears, and I think we have to reconvene at a group and understand that more. I mean, the state's saying we'll give you more money if you bring on more towns, but again, I'm feeling like we've got a lot on our plates, and changing gears now might not make perfect sense. So more to come on that. But if you're hearing it on the DPH call, we'll all be checking in. So that's it. So there will be overall more money coming, and then Diane has been researching some additional funding opportunities. We'll talk about the budget in another, I believe, I'm looking at my screens. We do have some extra money that's going to be left this year. Don't forget this year is a little different because we started late, right? So the fiscal year and the full award started on July 1, but we didn't have our nursing contract in place. So we're going to have some extra money in nursing. And we also did, in the revised budget, put some extra money for, I think we put it under training and education. So we'll have more information from the state as to what would qualify under that. But one thought we had, so we're working on this grant, working with our restaurants, Diana, we realized that a lot of them like struggle to get their serve safe. Like people want to be trained in food safety, but they don't want to drive to the course, and nobody wants to pay their staff to take a course. And so Diane, do you want to talk about this and why you're researching AFTO grants?
So if you're not familiar, the FDA has the retail program standards. There's 9 standards. They're all related to retail food safety. And AFTO has partnered with NEHA. AFTO is the FDA organization. They partnered with NEHA this year to administer their grants. And so part of the process is you have to be eligible for these grants. And I'm actually looking at the email I've been composing to send to you all with all of the information, all of the links, all your contacts, everything's coming to you in one place. So in order to be eligible for the NEHA FDA grants, you have to register with AFTO. And by registering, there's nothing to it. You have to fill out a quick form, and you have to contact our rep. The representative for this region is Steve Natras. He has been unbelievable. He's super excited about regionalizing Massachusetts because he's the rep for Massachusetts, only state in the country with 351 different municipalities that he has to deal with. So he's really pulling for us to do the collaborative grant, which is $100,000 in addition to the $100,000 that we're getting through the public health excellence grant. We can do a lot in our communities with an additional $100,000. So in order to, the first step would be for each town to register. All you do is you fill out the one form that has your contact and your town's website, and then you contact Steve and say, I'm in. And then if you decide to do nothing more at that point, that's totally okay. There's no strings attached. You just register that you're looking into this NEHA grant. If you decide to move forward, there's several options that you can take. Kristen and I are talking about, we're gonna do a 3-step approach as a single municipality. And then, like I said, we'd love to do that collaboration grant for $100,000 a year, which is a 3-year grant cycle. That would be run, a little off from this grant, but it would help us achieve compliance with the FDA standards, which would be training, which would be getting in a third party to evaluate how we're doing with our compliance with the standards and what we as municipalities can work on and what our retail food establishments can work on. There's great money for training as well for our staff training. We can all go on a field trip to the national convention, which sounds like a lot of fun. All of it is paid through this grant. And as I said, there is not a collaboration yet in Massachusetts. So Steve, who is our FDA representative, is really bending over backwards to see what our needs are and how we can make this grant happen. The grant just opened. Oh, it opens tomorrow. So the grant opens tomorrow. So you get plenty of time to register, and it closes on November 15th. I'm happy to help administer this grant. I've already signed up for the contact for our Northborough, and I'm happy to do the regionalized grant. We just need to know if you guys are interested in tackling this one too.
So Diane, can you speak to like what would be the lift of each town and what would be like their individual benefit? Like, so I mean, one thought we had in Northborough is I had joined this retail food standards. I learned about it at a MHOA meeting. We signed up in Oxford. There's no penalty if you don't meet it. It just, again, it makes you eligible. And you could do that alone as a community. You don't have to do it regionally. And so you could, as your own community, register for the retail standards. The grant amounts are a bit smaller. But again, it might be $3,000 to send one of your food inspectors in Westborough to a training, so it's a very, very light lift. When I mentioned on my one-on-one to Sam Wong, that one thing we hear from restaurants a lot is, I want to train my staff, but I don't have the time or I don't have the money or there's no classes nearby. And so when I mentioned that to Sam Wong, can we use our $12,000 health education and training budget to offer these, like a food safety manager course to our businesses? Sam said, you can't use the public health grant for that, but go do this grant. So this was really, when we came up with the idea, we want to give that free training because we want safer restaurants and well-trained staff. Sam said, don't use public health excellence, go for this NEHA. It's actually through NEHA and, the FDA. And it's a newer, they sort of did a twist on it. So it's a newer setup.
Right, it's the FDA, it's the same retail standards program, but they're paying NEHA to administer it now. And it's a really simplified computer. Everything's online, everything's submitted online, simple application process. And as Kristen said, none of the training is allowable in Massachusetts. All of that same training would be allowable through this grant because it's helping our towns reach the FDA retail standards. So we could offer free serve save, allergens at $10, so it's no big deal. But we could offer to every employee and every establishment free training. Yeah. I mean, that's huge.
So any questions? So I guess for timing now, I mean, there are some tight timelines. So if we wanted to be eligible for this, people would need to vote it by when, Diane? Because you're submitting the application and boards would need to vote and enroll by what date?
Correct.
What's the date?
So the drop dead date is November 15th.
Okay, November. So we would say for Board of Health, if you're interested, it would have to be on your September or October agendas if you're interested. So that's just something. I'll let Diane follow up with towns and maybe talk to Westborough offline if that's something you want to go with. Is there any like cut off with the regional grant, Diane, where it would have to be at least 2 communities, 3, 4? Does it matter?
It has to be 3, I believe, is the minimum.
Okay.
So it would have to be 3 out of the 4. I mean, I think if we could get all 4 towns on board, it would be great because we're already collaborating. But if we do it as 3, this is good. And that's for the 100,000. We could do a smaller collaboration with just 2 towns and be eligible for a smaller award.
Okay. So I don't know, by a show of hands or go around the group, are you guys interested? Is this something that sounds good or?
Let me just ask, so are you potentially applying as a single town and as the regional?
Yep, we're allowed. So that's another benefit is each town can get one. You'd have to do option one because you'd be a new enrollee. So that's for the self-assessment to see where you stand right now. And that's a $5,000 grant. And then you can add on. So you can add on, we're adding on the mentorship grant. So I would mentor with a larger town like Watertown or Cambridge or someone who's already been with the FDA program for a long time. And then as an add-on, we're requesting money to go to a self-assessment and verification audit workshop. So that's travel expenses, everything else. And in addition to those that we're applying for as our own community, we would like to collaborate with at least one other community for a regional grant.
I just like to read more about it before I.
There's 110 pages brochure that's.
I'll have a blast for that one.
No, it's actually a quick read, believe it or not. And I'm trying to get this all into one email, so it's almost done. I'm reading from it now. So,
all right. Thank you.
It's good information in that brochure, so skip straight to that.
Thank you.
And you think a potential use of the funds would be to do like serve safe and food training for all employees at all the food establishments in your town?
That could be one use. I mean, certainly we would want to do some additional trainings for our staff. I'd love to get an audit done by the FDA because to be accredited by the FDA as a Board of Health is really an accomplishment. And I think that if we can all become accredited, it really puts us on a different level than other regional groups.
That in itself sounds great.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, we hear a lot about public health accreditation and there's very few health departments in Massachusetts. I think it's like Worcester, Cambridge, Boston. Is there anybody else yet? It's very hard. So I think the FDA going that direction, it's sort of a light lift. It lets us focus on food. You know, there's funding available. And the one thing that, you know, the grant, I think it shows for the Greater Boroughs Partnership for Health here, if we're seeking other grants, it's sort of what DPH wants us to do, right? They don't want us to just drain their one grant. They want to, you know, look at other opportunities, how to become more robust. So I think this is a light lift. You know, it's the way that Sam Wong, you know, what DPH is asking for us to go. So no decisions, I don't think would have to come back. It would sort of be separate and more information. So Diane will send that and you can individually connect with Diane, see where you want to go, but just keep in mind timeline, you know, pencil it if you're considering at all for that September, October meeting. It's a simple vote and, you know, a couple of emails to sign up and then we could look to draft. So.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
And I'll have that to everyone by tomorrow.
Okay. Great. All right. I'm going to, I think we just, I'm just sharing my screen real quick again. Just want to show you, we're nearly through this agenda and close to 3 o'clock. Let's see. I skipped over this one slide, so I apologize. So the one other thing I wanted to touch upon is the review of the budget and work plan. So again, this table on the right was just sent by DPH. They've, you know, there's so many criteria we need to hit in this work plan, which is really everything we're doing, but they want us to develop it in a work plan format that's sort of hitting those SMART goals or those measurable, achievable, you know, goals. So I'll be working through that document as soon as DPH gets me the template. So they've been promising a template, and that's why you guys really haven't seen anything. I think like we all have been struggling to keep up, and DPH has been a little slow in getting this, but we should have that work plan template, and I will plug our grant into it and try to make the goals measurable and achievable and circulate that to everybody for feedback or comments. It's really just, you know, something we need to check off to DPH as part of the grant. So we have quarterly reports. I submitted the first quarterly report in July. I believe that was copied to some of you. I can send it along. My goal will be that when I get the website up and running, we'll put the IMA there, the quarterly reports, and just so it's sort of a holding place for everybody to see. But if you're ever looking for documents, don't hesitate to reach out. The report is a plug and play into a DPH template, and everything they're trying to do lately is a pretty light lift. So it really just talked about where we were with our IMA and our contracts, et cetera. So I am doing that on behalf of the partnership. And again, I'll work on that work plan. I'll circulate it to all voting members. You know, if there's comments or feedback, great. I'm hoping we don't need to hold another meeting just to vote the work plan. DPH doesn't require that, but I'm open to discussion on that. But just looking at the timeline, we need to get a draft on October 15th. The quarterly reports, that final work plan wouldn't be till November, but that would be submitted. I could circulate drafts to the group, but that would be submitted probably to our next meeting, you know, in advance of that. And so that work plan is just sort of what are we looking to do and how are we going? And I feel like our grant and looking at the other regional partnerships, we're sort of way ahead. You know, we already have staff, we're doing stuff, you know, we wrote it with pretty specific goals. And that work plan should be pretty easy to pull together. There's some requirements of diversity and inclusion, you know, that we'll have to, you know, think creatively because our region is less diverse than some of the others. But I'll be individually talking to health departments to work on that plan. And again, the revised budget that we had submitted on 7/13 to DPH was just approved on Friday. And so we really have two pockets of money. I'm throwing it out to the group. We need to think creatively because it's a use it or lose it by July of next year. So we did have a surplus in nursing because we didn't start our Salmon VNA contract until September 1. So there's about $20,000 in that contracting nursing line item. And that's where I'd like to think creatively about maybe contracting with Salmon VNA for hourly nurses to support booster clinics through the fall and winter. But if you have other thoughts, please, you know, call me and we'll look to use those funds. So it's got to be related to furthering the purpose of the Public Health Excellence Grant. So it's improved public health services. And we did pencil in a $12,000 training and education line item. I asked DPH, could that cover things like an MHOA conference or other items like that? They said no. So they said it covers training and education if it's specifically related to meeting the blueprint workforce credentials. So you all should be familiar with DPH's big blueprint that came out. I think it was 2019. There's a table. So these are the credentials all of your staff should have. So if, for example, Jen, let's say you have an inspector in Westborough who wants to go get a soil evaluator, right? Like, let's say Maria wants to become a soil evaluator or assistant inspector. We could use that training line item to pay her because that would be taking your health agent or inspector and helping her meet the blueprint criteria. But we couldn't just send her MHOA because that doesn't actually give you a criteria. They said they will not use the public health excellence grants to pay for CEUs or credits that people are required to have. So a little tricky. I am asking DPH for a list of training and education things that would be allowable under the grant. But, you know, we originally thought, what if we wanted to offer the ServSafe for our towns, but that's not allowable by DPH. It's got to be specific to workforce development in accordance with the blueprint. So those are two pockets of money. I'll throw it out to you guys. If you have ideas for how to use it, we would just need to get anything particular approved by DPH, but those funds are there. Use it or lose it by July. There's no talk like carryover.
Do you know when you'll be getting, hopefully, that approved list?
Well, we've asked for, I know, I wish I did, you know, because we've asked for even a list of approved uses for the grant, and we still haven't seen that in 3 months. So, you know, I know our budget's approved, so we're just going with it, but something to keep in mind. If you were thinking about a training opportunity that might not be in your budget to cover, send it to me and we'll just one-offs get those approved by DPH. So I think there's not that many trainings available in Massachusetts that probably fall in. I don't think we'll get through the full 12,000, but if you have staff that are looking for training, you know, that may meet that, reach out. So, or think creatively, we'll go one-off and get it approved by DPH if needed.
I know a lot of the trainings right now are still not active because of COVID, so we may fall into that problem, trying to spend that money as well.
Yeah, so I think one of the goals is when we get the approved use, we'll also ask for other ways we could use it. I think we could eat up nursing if we end up running booster clinics and we can pay contracted nurses through Salmon VNA. That's easy because it's like one contract with them. We already have it. We do it as an addendum. I feel like that's a great way to get through, some of the nursing budget if they have the availability. So waiting for a confirmation, but yeah, we'll have to think creatively or other ways we can use it. Some other equipment purchases to be made we have all our food inspection equipment. Diane will be working with to purchase, dishwasher temp discs and test strips and, high grade thermometers for food inspection. So if you have other equipment needs that your inspectors would like, we could probably also pay for it through the grant. So think it through, call me if you're not sure. We want to make sure it's a use it or lose it. And it's open to all 4 communities equally. Okay, any other questions on this slide with the work plan? Okay, great. So Diane covered additional funding. And I think lastly, I just wanted to hopefully look to establish future meeting dates and locations. It was really hard to schedule this. I know we're all in COVID, back to school. It was a tough time of year. So rather than, I would love to just get it in the calendar for everybody, our quarterly. I just literally said, okay, what's 3 months out, another 3 months out. I was thinking we'd stick with the Wednesday at 2 o'clock because this seemed to work today. We can move it around if needed. But any thoughts on the dates? Do we want to try to go with those and do them as Zoom, do them as Outlook calendar invites and lock it up now?
Yep, I agree.
Okay. So I will send that out as a recurring meeting or a meeting for those next 3. Thoughts on location, right? December 8th, I don't know where we'll not it's good for the public, it's good for recording, but we could also look to hold the meeting in individual towns and move it around. So any preference for hosting or sticking with Zoom?
I say we stick with Zoom for now. I think it's probably easier for everyone.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Sarah and Heather, does that look to work for you for location in Zoom? Okay.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, I was just checking calendar. No, that works.
Okay, great. And again, the way we're doing it in Northborough, and that's assuming we'll be allowed to meet remotely. This is a Zoom meeting. You're all invited and you get the Zoom invite. The public can stream it and view it and follow along. But if you have staff members, you want to be able to come in, interact, and talk about things, feel free to extend your Zoom invite. It's not specific to your email address. Please provide feedback if we want to do a slightly different format next time, and we should be good to go. So we'll look to hopefully get those meeting minutes from today's meeting circulated long before December 8th, because we won't remember if we wait till then, so I'll work with Katie and hopefully we can turn that around the next 3 weeks or so we could at least take a peek at it and have those sort of logged before we get to December 8th. That seems like a long way off. Did any other questions? But I guess it's just lastly like open discussion or any other comments you'd like to talk about with the advisory board?
This first meeting made me excited, so thank you all. Thank you for your work, Kristen. You guys worked hard to this point, you can tell.
Yes, thank you.
I mean, any other thoughts on, I don't want to talk too much about it, but because we don't know about the boosters, but on clearly working to share, it sounds like nursing resources, but any other ideas?
Well, I think the booster, the last with the meeting in Northborough, we're sort of, we're all wishful to think somebody else is going to do all the boosters for us. Like the pharmacies are going to step up. I think we're all looking to do our senior center. Ed Berman with Ashley, I thought, presented a nice idea at the last meeting of maybe doing that weekend, but bouncing within the 7 collaborative communities. Because I don't think we all want to give up every Saturday, but maybe we could all give up one Saturday over 7 weeks and move that. So I thought that was a really great idea. I think that's probably going to keep DPH happy. I think from pulling Salmon VNA nurses, I can bring that up on the call. Those nurses are great. I just don't know their availability of the weekend. So Salmon VNA is less robust than like the big Salmon, which is running some of the assisted livings and other things like that. So it's really depends on their ability there. So I think we'll keep continuing to explore that. And so I think also more to come, and just reminding you guys on testing. I don't yet have that PCR machine, but please, 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 if you're in a pinch,
Right.
you're like, I need to get a staff member tested, contact us. We'll be able to get it done here. And if
Right.
it's, you know, something that we really are going to do more frequently, we could really talk about who's paying for the $41 a test kind of
Right,
thing.
I was just
But-
gonna ask that, like, when you're up and running with the PCR, potentially, you had mentioned our town could, with CARES Act funding, get the kits
Right.
for our employees to come there.
Yeah. So that was one thought we had is, you know, the machine's been purchased by Northborough through CARES Act, you know, it will be there. And then you get a box of 24 kits. They're about $41 a piece for McKesson. Given we have the shared nurses and they'd be able to run the machine. One thought is if it was helpful for your community, we thought there was a need. It worked within the nursing hours for each of our communities. You could just buy a box of kits. We write right on there, Southborough, your kits, you buy them through McKesson, keep them here, and the nurse would just run your employees through those kits. I mean, the thought for now, you know, we haven't quite seen that uptick. The worry is just, you know, is a school teacher going to be able to get a test and return to work, or they're going to be home waiting for 3 days because all the PCR results are delayed. And we want to try to get those in place. We'd love to say we could do it for students. I just don't think that's sustainable. But one thing Heather mentioned is, you know, we do have the Stop the Spread site in Marlborough at the hospital, and they have certain days, and could we complement the days they're not open? So it's really feeling it out with the schools, like how many would you really send if we needed to? And I think we're going to pilot with the employees and prioritize all employees in town, like town employees, schools. And then if we realize, hey, there's not a lot of demand there, and maybe there's just a set number of hours and slots, you know, so maybe it's 2 hours on certain days, and it's what we can do. So I think we'll look at the need and see where testing is. And I don't think we want to run a test center for 8 hours a day, but if it's within reason, I think complementing the free testing that's available in our communities might be a good way to go.
But you'll let us know when you get the machine and get it
Yeah.
running.
Yeah, and you guys can come on by and check it out. I think everybody's sort of excited. It's, you know, pretty user friendly. The McKesson vendor's right here in Northborough, so he's going to come by for setup. I think we might even send, you know, Aaron over to Ed's place in Ashland because he's a fun character to hang out with, and he can see how that machine works and give it a go. So yeah, definitely, you guys welcome to come by. So we're running it out of our basement. Used to be a food pantry. We're not putting symptomatic people in the building, obviously, you know, so swaps would be outside, the machines inside, but it should be a good setup and something we're willing to share as a regional resource to keep
Great.
everybody at work. Awesome. Any other open discussion, or you want to do a motion to close the meeting? Adjourn.
Motion to adjourn the meeting at 3:12.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And, all right. Great. Thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate it. We'll be in touch. So look for Diane's info, and I'll be circulating the PowerPoint, so you guys have that for your notes, and let me know if you need anything else. And look for those draft work plans, and we'll keep things moving. So thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.